Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our Career Booster webinar series here at Grantham University. My name is Jeremy Bell, Career Services Manager, and today, as a part of our series, we're going to be presenting our Career Insider with pharmaceutical product development. Just want to give you a few laundry list items here before we get started, and I wanted to remind you that our session is being recorded, so this recording will be made available after our presentation today. And if you have any questions for our presenter, you will be able to do so within the GoToWebinar software. There's a questions field, there's also a chat field, so if any questions come up throughout today's presentation, feel free to use those and we will address them at the end of the presentation. But right now, I'm going to turn it over to Catherine Barrack with PPD, and she's going to tell you about all the great opportunities that they have within their organization. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about PPD today. Jeremy, if you don't mind starting on the next slide, I can start with an introduction a little bit about myself. As Jeremy mentioned, I am with PPD, or Pharmaceutical Product Development, but that's too long, so we've shortened that. I'm a part of the talent acquisition team here. PPD is a clinical or contract research organization, which basically means we run clinical trials for pharmaceutical companies, biotechs, and government agencies. So any kind of large pharma company that you encounter, chances are they don't run their own clinical trials. They actually outsource it to a company like PPD, who specializes in making trials successful. Actually, at PPD, as part of the talent acquisition team, I work on our recruiting programs. So I help with our university initiatives, veteran and military hiring initiatives, as well as some of our other diversity programs. So you may kind of wonder, like, why is clinical research important to you? You know, you may be a healthy individual, but it really is important for all of us. It started being systematically kind of developed and enforced back in the 1950s after several drugs produced quite a few deaths in the US, as well as severe birth defects. There's a morning sickness drug in the 1960s actually that had severe birth defects in 10 to 20,000 babies, which is really just difficult to imagine. So kind of out of those things, and the growing need for both painkillers and antiseptics and other medications, we started developing a system of clinical testing and regulatory bodies. And through that, there's quite a lengthy drug development process. This is just to give you a little illustration, a little background on, you know, any medication that comes to you at the pharmacy, ends up in your medicine cabinet. It's gone through quite an ordeal to get there. Takes about 10 to 15 years. Each drug is about $1 billion to develop. And if you're a scientist in the lab, you really have a pretty small chance of the drug that you're working on making it all the way to a pharmacy. Only 1 out of every 10 to 15,000 new compounds from the lab ends up as a marketed, you know, patient-approved drug. PPD gets to participate primarily in the clinical trial phase, the middle 6 to 7 years of testing, where we're actually working with human volunteers who are taking this drug either to help test it for safety or test it actually for effectiveness, because they have the illness or disease that can benefit from it. So it is a pretty big ordeal, and for many of us, it's hard to see the impact. You know, maybe just be taking a Tylenol every now and again, but we do identify individuals who have benefited and who actually see the impact of clinical trials on their daily lives. We call them PPD heroes because of really the heroic journey that they're on and the heroism of really sharing their story with us. And this is Kirk Smith. He's actually one of our PPD heroes, and he has lung cancer. He lives with lung cancer. He's not in remission. And I've got a little bit of a video who can share a little bit about his story.
For some reason,
no worries, let's just skip it.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries. If you ever look on YouTube for PPD and you look up the PPD heroes, you'll be able to see Kirk's story as well as some of the other heroes that have participated in our Ironman, or what we used to do as a marathon, who also just benefited from clinical trials. And honestly, their stories are really inspiring. So if you have an extra 5 minutes, I highly recommend getting on YouTube and checking it out. But to dive in and tell you a little bit more about PPD itself, we're about 20,000 employees worldwide. We're in 47 different countries, about half in the US, half elsewhere all around the world. We started in 1985, and we work with all the top 50 pharmaceutical companies, as well as many of the top biotech companies. We continue to win awards for our quality. And what you're looking at there is an image of our global headquarters, which is actually in Wilmington, North Carolina. So PPD has been recognized for quite a few different areas. We're continuously recognized as a top contract research organization in our industry for our leadership, use of technology, for different therapeutic areas such as vaccines, but also just as a great employer. We were named one of America's best large employers by Forbes in 2018. And for the last 7 years, we've been named one of the top businesses in the US for employee learning and development. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit more later, but this is an area that I think is really significant as an employee, and as a candidate, as someone who's looking for a job, to be looking for a company that really focuses on this area. There's a lot of amazing companies out there. Those of you who are finishing up your degree or have recently finished, there are so many different companies with great cultures and other opportunities. But the one thing that PPD also has to offer is that we do impact health on a daily basis. Not everyone's company actually strives to reach a higher mission, and we do. We're really lucky that our goal here is to help our clients deliver medications faster and more cost efficiently, and allow those savings to be passed on to the consumers, and allow those patients who are waiting for those drugs, much needed drugs many times, to get them a little bit faster. So all of us, even myself in HR, all the way through clinical, we all have the opportunity to actually make an impact in our daily jobs, which I think is really significant. As a company, we are led by our defining principles. I won't read them all to you here, but just to tell you a little bit more about PPD and to give you a better sense of what our values are. These are the things that drive us. We're passionate, resilient. We hold ourselves accountable for our mistakes and our successes. We continuously seek new ways to improve. We are game changers. We are innovators, always wanting to do more, better, faster. And we never compromise our ethics or integrity to do so. But I think most importantly, the thing that is most significant about PPD is that we are a team. We are one global organization, and we have to work together to be not only a good place to work, but to actually accomplish the mission of our company and impact patients worldwide. Many contract research organizations don't have the scale to be able to work in a variety of different therapeutic areas. But because PPD is one of the largest, we are set up to affect and work in many different areas of medicine and health. As you can imagine, things like oncology is very big. It's big money and big business. But it also allows us to work in other smaller areas that many people can't touch on, such as vaccines and rare diseases. There's a lot of diseases out there that aren't being worked on because there's considered to be no market for it. And we're lucky enough to work with organizations that have the funding to work in those areas, and also be set up ourselves to have the staff to specialize in those areas, which I think is really significant. This is just to give you a little brief history about PPD. We were founded in 1985 by Fred Eshelman. He was someone who left the pharmaceutical industry and just wanted to go out on his own as a consultant, but quickly realized that there was a lot of opportunity there. So he incorporated his business in North Carolina. He was originally from Wilmington and brought his business back home to Wilmington, North Carolina to help spur some economic development, which has really done a great thing for our community. He continued to grow to other continents and countries, going public in 1996, starting to acquire companies and continue to expand. And we'll jump into more recent times where in 2011, we actually went private and have remained private since then. We were acquired by 2 private equity firms. And in 2017, we were actually reinvested in by the same 2 private equity firms with a couple new investors. So it's pretty significant that not only did they think enough to invest in us the first time around, but 5 and 6 years later, decided that they would actually double down and continue to invest in us because we have grown so much, over the past 35 years that they expect us to continue to really rapidly grow and develop. So we're really excited to still be under this ownership, and it gives us a lot of opportunity. This is just another little illustration to show you not only where our presence is worldwide, but also the number of different areas in which we've affected trials. So we've actually conducted clinical trials in 101 countries, but we're only in 47 countries. So we have a lot of staff who are out there, in 1s and 2s and 3s throughout the world, carrying on, helping trials be successful in other areas. And we've conducted over 2,500 trials in the past 5 years, which maybe doesn't seem like a lot for a large company, but when you think about that a clinical trial, that phase of drug development lasts 6 to 7 years, that's a lot of extremely long-term projects that are ongoing throughout the globe that PPD is really getting to touch on. So most of you probably are a little bit more interested closer to home, what's going on in the U.S. We do have, several locations throughout the United States. Our biggest locations are in Morrisville and Wilmington, North Carolina. But we also have large facilities in Madison, Wisconsin, which is just or in Middleton, which is just outside of Madison, Wisconsin, as well as a couple offices outside of the Philadelphia area and Richmond, Virginia. Some of these other offices here listed are a little bit smaller, but always growing and accepting new applications. So the next few slides here, I just really wanted to touch on and give you a better picture of PPD's culture and what it's like to be an employee here. So as you can imagine, with PPD being in the healthcare and pharmaceutical industry, there's a very big focus on health and wellness and just overall employee well-being. We do have a wellness team, a dedicated staff that works to truly benefit different areas of health, whether that be our physical health, where an employee can take advantage of an on-site health clinic, an on-site gym or gym reimbursement, or whether it's mental, social, or financial health through perhaps one of the seminars that the wellness team either puts on or brings in, or other initiatives that they do throughout the year. We do have a really active social committee in every location that gets to choose what they're going to put on, whether it's an organized walk or something maybe a little bit less healthy, like an ice cream pop-up. So we appreciate, balance in all things. So this is something that's, I think, really big. It's very important to our overall well-being, but also just a really great perk of being a PPD employee. We really try to have a team and community atmosphere within all of our different locations. So there's different ways that we're able to take advantage of that. Several of our locations hold Toastmasters clubs, which are public speaking organizations that help everyone work on their public speaking skills and develop them in a really safe environment. We also have some active athletic clubs, especially in our Latin America or European locations. They do soccer or football, I suppose, where they are. Competitions, games, either between departments or even actually there's areas where they do it between industry competitors, which I think is really cool. We also have departments and teams that do a lot of accolades and awards ceremonies internally, as well as we have some company-wide awards where you do get recognized globally. And then we also just have a lot of informal social gatherings at different locations, like donut day or ice cream pop-up, where the executives come down and serve ice cream to everyone that's there that day. And it's just a lot of opportunities to either bond within your team or get outside your cubicle, get outside your department, and get to work with other staff. One of the key things to me when I was considering PPD as a future employer was their focus on giving back and community involvement. So each location globally is empowered to choose what local organizations they would like to work with, they would like to benefit. We do have some corporate-wide initiatives as well, but we still want employees to make their decisions locally and decide who needs it in their community. So, pictured here, we've got folks doing a local multiple sclerosis walk, scientists who went out to a local middle school and judged a competition, individuals who organized food bank donations at the local post office during annual Stamp Out Hunger Day, as well as folks at a recruiting event where they distributed suits to transitioning service members who didn't have interview attire. So every location does things a little bit differently, and normally there's several things going on at each location, but these are just kind of a few examples of some of the things that we get involved with across the U.S. One of the other things that was also really important to me coming on, and I think is a big draw for us, is the focus at PPD on training and development. First off, we have probably the top training program for those in the clinical field. So those who are interested in clinical trial monitoring and advancing in that area. Our training program for entry-level clinical research associates or trial monitors is definitely probably the best in the industry, if not the top in the industry. They are those employees are heavily sought after and poached by other companies because their training programs simply are not as advanced. But for those of us who aren't in clinical, we still can take advantage of the Knowledge Center, which is really like an online library of web-based, typically self-paced e-learning and audiobooks on a ton of different topics. So, whether or not you just want to brush up on your Excel skills or you want to prepare for a certificate program like a PHR, we have a lot of online reference materials to be able to help you, reach those goals. And it doesn't need to be actually related to your, your current role. It might be something more focused to your dream career, or maybe just more of a personal interest. We also have quite a few PPD developed management and leadership courses. Some of those are still kind of the self-paced online courses, but you can also sign up for instructor-led as well. And those are developed all the way from, individual contributor, entry-level courses through advanced leadership. Those folks who are kind of getting prepped for VP type roles. And for all of us, no matter whether we're taking a course or not, our managers are really focused on more coaching and development rather than mistake correction and performance management of employees, which it's obviously a lot more empowering and helpful and engaging, as an employee. So we have a really good focus here on growth and making sure that we're bringing our best selves and developing our best selves at PPD. So I wanted to give you some information about the types of roles that we have here and commonly hire for. So anyone with a medical or clinical background, we have a ton of opportunities. Maybe you've been a nurse, a medic, a corpsman. We are constantly looking for individuals who have had exposure to patient care or medical terminology to either put them into roles for trial monitoring or put them kind of in that career growth trajectory. For those individuals who get into trial monitoring, there's a lot of opportunities from there to grow in line management or even study project management as well. And it's a really competitive, fantastic profession to be in if you're, open to travel and really interested in kind of being a part of the behind the scenes on a clinical trial. And it's actually really hard to get into this area. So the clinical research associate position, which is more easily understood as like a trial monitor, it can be incredibly difficult to break into this role. Most companies require you to have 2 years of some experience related to monitoring, and that's oftentimes in addition to experience with patient care or medical terminology. So it's pretty substantial. But what PPD did was developed a registered apprenticeship program with the Department of Labor for this role. We do require that you have a bachelor's degree, and we look for folks with some sort of previous experience in medicine. So maybe an LPN, a CNA, a nurse, medic, a corpsman, something where maybe you've had a substantial experience in a medical office. We can then put you into this 12-month kind of training program, and you're able to come out a clinical research associate, visit doctors' offices, hospitals where trials are taking place, and actually make sure that they're being done according to both the client and the FDA regulations. So it's a really cool opportunity to break into the industry, really skip several years of experience that would normally be required, and get into an incredibly competitive field. I'm assuming this video might not work.
I think this one will. So.
Okay, give it a shot.
Yeah.
Apprenticeship is a one-year competency-based program. Apprentices will begin in a clinical support role, later transitioning to a remote site monitor position. At the end of 1 year, successful participants will move into a CRA Level 1. The CRAs coming out of this program will be ready to hit the ground running to help our clients deliver life-changing therapies to improve health. We are targeting veterans and transitioning military for this apprenticeship. As a military spouse myself, I was so excited to be tasked to recruit for this. My husband is currently serving active duty at Camp Lejeune. Through his service, I've met many veterans, and I understand the value of their experiences. We are thrilled to welcome our apprentices, and we look forward to their growth and contribution.
So that's just a little bit from Sarah, who really drove a lot of our apprenticeship initiative. But we are still continuing to hire those on a quarterly basis and grow our program. So, please feel free to contact me directly if anyone is interested in that. We also have a lot of other niche positions. If you have a kind of a specialty background, we have programmers, specifically those who have a SAS programming background, biostatisticians, but also areas for great technical writers, those who've worked in data management, people who are interested in kind of more the customer service side. So we do have a large call center where we're able to answer patient and doctor questions about drugs or drug interactions. And we also have departments for regulatory affairs within pharmaceuticals, as well as drug safety. Our laboratories is another really growing area. So we have labs in Madison, Wisconsin, Richmond, Virginia, and Highland Heights, Kentucky, which is just out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And we are constantly seeking new scientists to start or advance in these areas. You know, we often look for biology, chemistry, biochemistry degrees. Those are just common ones. Those do not, you know, that's not all inclusive. We also look for individuals who have the experience, but maybe not the degree, to be able to start and grow in our labs. Our Madison, Wisconsin facility is the largest good manufacturing practices lab in North America. So we have so many opportunities to work within there. We also, for anyone who's got a background or interest in logistics, we have quite a large sample management department. And those are the folks who help our medical products safely go from, you know, distributors to our facilities to be tested, to make sure that they're in the proper temperature and environment the entire time. So it is very specific and technical, but it's a great opportunity for those to grow in that area as well. But many of you may be like me and not have a science or medical background. You know, don't despair. We have a large corporate support teams in finance, HR, IT, communications and marketing, legal, and facilities. A lot of these positions, I will say, are located in North Carolina, either in our Morrisville office, which is outside of the Raleigh-Durham area, or in Wilmington, simply because those are closer to our corporate headquarters. And we are really often hiring in a lot of these areas, particularly finance, which I can go into a little bit more. Most of our finance team is located out of Wilmington, but it's a huge, huge organization. We do have, you know, your typical roles in procurement, audit, accounting, but then we also have quite large teams in our contracts and proposals department or commercial finance, where they're working with preparing information for our bids and proposals for new clients and doing contract modifications as those contracts go on. And those folks often need just need experience with managing budgets, maybe managing contract relationships in the past in a different environment, or even supply chain experience is another great one that they look for. I also really highly recommend looking at our operations finance team. These folks actually manage the trial budgets for individual studies. So you're really getting to affect how a study is going from a financial standpoint. And you're also getting to get a little view into the science and how a drug is progressing. So it's another great way to utilize a finance background, but actually get to see into the science or clinical side as well. So just to kind of sum things up for you, you know, why PPD, why consider it? For me, it's a great place to be able to contribute to a mission, to contribute to, you know, something that feels greater than yourself without sacrificing any of your career development. You know, there are opportunities to continue your education, you know, with our tuition reimbursement program. We have so much like internal development opportunities. We really encourage internal mobility, you know, whether that's upward or between departments. And you're part of a global organization. So it's, to me, it has a little bit best of both worlds, where you are contributing to something larger than yourself, but not actually sacrificing your own career or professional development in the meantime. So I really appreciate everyone joining us today. I hope you will stay connected. Check us out on social media. We also have an Instagram, but I had already submitted these slides before I got the new Instagram image to add to this. And this is my email down at the bottom of the slide. I'm happy for you to reach out to me directly with any questions or things that come up. Feel free to keep in touch. Jeremy, is there any questions or anything else I can touch on at this time?
No, if there are any questions that came in at this point, and the only question I would have, as far as the application process, are there any particulars or any other tidbits as far as applying positions that you might want to share with any potential applicants that they might need to know going if they want to apply for some of these positions?
I think we're pretty standard. We've got everything listed on our website, ppdi.careers.com. That's not correct, ppdi.com/careers. But I highly recommend, I know this presentation is going to be recorded, and I've listed a lot of the job titles that are more common on those that may demonstrate some of the career paths where they start out at. And it can be a little bit confusing on our website or many sites, figuring out the leveling that you want to apply for. So, you're welcome to email myself and get a little bit more insight on what's appropriate, or kind of refer to some of the slides in this presentation on what jobs might be a little bit more appropriate if you've maybe just completed your degree and don't have experience in the area that you're trying to go into. But otherwise, it's apply online, and a recruiter will be looking at your resume. We don't have an electronic system, and they will be getting back to you.
All right, sounds good. Awesome. Well, thank you, Catherine. There's a lot of great information on the opportunities that you guys have at PPD. So we definitely look forward to folks looking into those a little bit closer. And before we wrap up, I just wanted to remind our listeners about our career launch program that we have here at Grantham University. As you go through your degree programs or as you prepare for that next career opportunity, we've developed a comprehensive yet self-paced program here to help you with a lot of those elements that come with successful career planning, everything from establishing your goals to constructing and perfecting your resumes and cover letters, interview skills, what associations to join and be a part of, even salary negotiation, and a lot more. So as I mentioned, it's self-paced, but our career services team is here to guide you through that process and help you along the way. So we definitely encourage you to take advantage of that. There is no cost to participate. So if you have questions, just give us a call in career services at 1-800-955-2527, extension 173, or email us at careerservices@grantham.edu, and we'll get you started. But again, thank you, Catherine, for joining us today, and thank you to all our listeners. And again, we'll have the recording available for you guys soon, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everyone.